This is question 21. And 21 says, information in the figure is most useful for addressing which question provoked by the passage. So information in the figure is most useful for addressing which question provoked by the passage. If you've been following along, you should already kind of have a sense of what's going on in the figure. But let's look at it just one more time to understand what it is. So, because basically we need to choose the question that is going to be the most relevant to the figure that we have. And so to understand it, what we should do is go back and just figure out what is the figure really measuring. So again, we have some distinctions. We have the new acquaintance and the well-acquainted. We have correlation here. We have two different columns for the new acquaintance and the well-acquainted. And we have three different correlations being measured, A, B, and C down here. I don't know what that did. A, B, and C. So basically, this y-axis is measuring the correlation, starting from 0, which basically means there's no correlation, no correspondence, all the way up to 1, which means it's perfect, right? Perfect agreement, right? So 0 is complete disagreement, 1 is perfect agreement. Then we have these three correlations. So A says the correlation between individual self-perception, that's how I view myself, and those individuals' predictions of how others perceive them. That's basically how I think others will view me. So we're talking about basically, are those in agreement? Is the way that I view myself the way that I think others will view me, right? And then measuring that between those who are new, who I just met, versus those who are well acquainted. So, for example, this B column would say that I'm almost in complete agreement that the way I view myself is how someone who really knows me will view me. B is basically the correlation between individual self-perception, so the way I view myself, and the actual perception of those individuals by others, so the way that those people actually view me. So this is basically saying how much in agreement is my view of myself versus how others actually view me. C is a correlation between individuals' predictions of how others perceive them, so basically how I think others will view me versus how others actually view me, the actual perceptions. So this is basically, is my prediction of how you're going to view me the same as your actual perception of me? So that's it. It's all about the only question this could kind of answer is basically, what's the difference between how well I know somebody versus a new acquaintance? Basically, am I good at predicting how people view me? Do I know how other people view me, etc.? So A says, the question is, what determined the traits that researchers tended to focus on in the experiments being analyzed? The traits they focused on were stuff like trustworthiness, happiness, all of that. And basically, this is saying, does the figure answer why they chose these particular traits? And the answer is no, it really doesn't at all. So A is wrong. B says, why are individuals more likely to accurately predict the impression of groups than a specific individuals within groups? Two things wrong with this. One is that the figure doesn't really talk about this. The passage does, but the figure doesn't talk about the distinction between groups and individuals. So it couldn't really shed any light on that. Moreover, there's not enough information in there to begin with to give a why answer, right? All it's doing is reporting the fact that, not really giving an explanation or a why. So for those two reasons, B is wrong. C says, to what degree are people able to predict how individual acquaintances perceive them? This is pretty good because we are talking about individual acquaintances in the figure, and we are also talking about people's predictions of how other people view them and whether or not it's accurate, right, according to the correlation. So this is pretty strong, probably our answer choice. D said, is one person's understanding of trustworthiness really so different from another person's understanding of that trait? This would basically be talking about, is the way that I think about trustworthiness similar to how you think about trustworthiness, right? And maybe a figure could answer that if it talked about different scenarios and describing whether this gave an example of trustworthiness or not. But it doesn't really talk about that at all. It couldn't really shed any light on that. So D is out as well, which means we're going to choose answer choice C for our correct answer for this problem.